Okay then, with this Citroën tractor behind me, a brief fad of Citroën building tractors, let's look at what else is in this collection. This is the full walk around video. We're going to try and see as much as we can every car. This is a Belfagor, the last of the Citroën trucks. A fine thing. We've seen the TUB in the earlier video, the gorgeous little G van that I want to take home with me, and the last Citroën H van. H vans were produced from 1947 right through until 1981, still with the same engine developed from the traction Avant and a 3-speed gearbox, which meant you could just about do 50, but yeah, painful going. Got a Citroën Evasion, which I think is what the Synergy was called over here. Good to see one of these preserved. The Jumpy here in taxi form. So this might be a prototype sort of layout for a taxi. The Citroën Cubic concept. And concepts are all around us. We've got the DS ones as well. DS sort of becoming a whole new chapter in itself. And then these kits where you can convert a regular modern Citroën van to look a bit like an H van. There's a few about. I've never seen this before. A GT C1. Wow. Behind me, more DS's. DS5. Presidential, apparently. Doesn't look all that spacious in the back, I have to say. The C6, I believe this is also a presidential car, as is the 4-door SM and this enormous DS. Wow. We're trying to run around the collection as fast as we can. We haven't got a lot of time in here. Experience concept. And the C Matisse. I think this is the original C6 concept for when they were still trying to say we need to make this. C5 convertible, anyone? Why ever not? I've covered the Activas in my more recent video. Citroën Conservatoire, quite funky. The C Air Dream. Look at the rear styling. I think this is hinting at the C4 that was still to come. What is this little 2CV-ish looking thing? Citroën Revolt. There we go. It's definitely got some 2CV lineage going on. A little Xanthia concept based on the Citroën AX. The Aircross, which became the C5 Aircross. And the C3 Lumiere concept. A bit more extreme than the resulting production car. And got some much older cars here. The Citroën Xenia. And this curious Citroën Carine designed by Trevor Fiore. Now, Trevor Fiore sounds very exotic. He actually changed his name. His name was Trevor Frost, but he worked at PSA for a time. Also designed some TVR cars. Traction Avant. Obviously, we've got saloons, we've got convertibles, we've got coupes, and some very interesting concepts are here that I need to show you. Just noticed this one looks like a plaster model for the Ami 8, designed by Flaminio Bertoni, who also designed the 2CV. So one of Sebastian Loeb's many rally cars here. We'll go and look at the older cars a bit later on. There's a tour guide going on down there at the moment, but we shall take a break to go down this aisle. So here we've got this Citroën Ami 6, which is one of my favourite Citroëns of all time. I really need to own one. I just adore the styling. It's just so mad, really. And they sold about 1 million of these, but they actually sold more of the Estates. The Estates were more popular. A very popular little car, designed to try and slot in between the 2CV and the Citroën DS. And it did an admirable job, I think. Let's go a bit wider. There we go. So this is an earlier one, 1963, somewhat purer front styling. The Diane, another beautiful vehicle. It was Panhard designers who were tasked with developing a new 2CV. So this was their attempt. Much more practical vehicle in many ways. Later, a Cadian van version. Citroën Maharis, and there were 4-wheel drive versions developed for the French military. The FAF was produced in Senegal and uses Mahari running gear. The Citroën Ami Super, based on the later Ami 8. The slots give it away, but it's got the 4-cylinder GS engine. There is a GS next to one of the prototype M35s. All of the prototypes, all the cars leased out, had this writing on with their unique number. So thankfully quite a few have survived. GS birotor, transverse rotary engine. GSA estate, I've already admired the headlamp wipers. Citroën CX, that one from 1977. This one a Mark II turbo. I love the turbo monogram, and it's replicated in the alloy wheels, which is a truly delicious touch. Very, very quick cars. And 1974 CX, so right from the start of production, and significant because the CXs were built here at Aulnay-sous-Bois. It's a bit strange. Out there is a Carrefour supermarket and nothing else. The last time I was here, 19 years ago, that was still a factory building cars, the Citroën C3 towards the end. So this is a CX Prestige, which was developed on the estate floor pan, so it has a longer section at the back for extra legroom. Very popular with the old dignitaries. That's another Prestige next to it. And this is Projet L. This was meant to be the CX, so this is one of those incredible money wasting scenarios where they went this far with the development only to decide this wasn't such a good idea at all and completely changed tack for the CX. Let's go a bit wider, show you as much as I can of this car. An incredible survivor. Next to it is a GS Flesh. It's got all these arrows on it. Used 73 different colours to illustrate the theory of energetism. It's artist Jean-Pierre Lehoux. Wow. And GS Estate. The C60 I've covered in the earlier videos, one of my favourites here. It's just quite bizarre, and perhaps it's good they didn't build it. Citroën Ami 8, another Mahari. That one built to take part in some adventuring. Citroën used to sponsor a lot of adventuring to show how good their cars were. So this is quite an early Mahari. It was the Diane 6 Mahari, I think originally was the designation. And ABS plastic body over a steel space frame on effectively a cut down Diane chassis and running gear. This is one of the Citroën SMs, but I think this one, yeah, this one was a prototype to run power and high-speed stability tests. So that is one of the prototype cars. Incredible. Some of the prototypes went rallying, I think. And the eventual SM production car, they seem to have a few of them. Know someone who's got one of them, I think. Do we? Do we? I can't remember. Obviously, true homage is paid to the DS here. Like I said, the very last of them were built in the factory here. This one, for some reason, has its doors removed. But we can compare the later style of shark nose with the earlier type. That's actually a Slough built one. They were actually built in the UK for a brief period, and that is one of them. So that's good to see here. Yeah, all these different models. They started off with a 1.9 litre engine out of the traction Avant, went as far as a 2.3 fuel injected engine with a 5-speed gearbox, and even an automatic option by the end. This one was used to distribute the pay. So this metal box in the back, it would drive around the factory dishing out the pay, which I think is lovely. So yeah, just more DS's. You can shake a stick out. There's one a chaperon by the look of it. It seems to be missing the roof, but it's got a lovely hard top instead. And then we're into 2CVs. We've got a 2CV by Hermes, not the delivery company. And what I'm trying to see, and what I think they have got in the collection, is the last 2CV, but I don't think it's here. It's a grey Charleston. So, but this is the signature car, signed by lots of people from different countries saying, please save the 2CV. Alas, it didn't happen. But some people we know managed to sign it, which is lovely. The signatures live on. There's 1966 2CV Azam when it was starting to get a bit bling with chrome trim and everything, and they were up to a 425cc engine by then. Yeah, lovely to see an early flute bonnet, as they call it, against the earlier ripple bonnet. This was donated to the club by David Conway of the Citroën Car Club in the UK. It is a slow-built 2CV. All the slow-built 2CVs had Citroën front drive and trafficators, cut-down Morris Minor bumpers, I think, and Butler headlamps in comparison with the French ones, because there had to be a certain amount of locally produced content. I have driven one. If you check my channel back, when I was in Tasmania I managed to find one. They only built a few hundred of these. They're very rare cars, and for some reason the British ones had flip up rear windows as well. They decided they didn't like having a non-opening rear window, and also the first 2CVs to use a steel boot lid, I think, although possibly the Belgians might be challenging for honours there. Over this line, everyone's crowded around the 2CV prototypes. I had a look at those in my previous video, but over here we've got 2CVs that have been used for raids and rallies, and 2CV Cross, which is still a very popular sport here in France. It's basically hammering around a motocross course. It's literally what it sounds like. This DS uses a V6 SM engine and was used for snow racing in the 1970s, and this DS competed on the Portuguese rally in that year. And then we got modified SM. In fact, it's still got 6 headlamps under there, and that one used more for road rallying. Senegal was where this CX was raced, and then we got the full range of the Dakar cars that have all been preserved. Crazy things that owe nothing to the ZX they're trying to look like. And then we're into Sebastian Loeb's Saxo and his champion winning Zara, which again doesn't owe too much to the production car but still looks a bit like one. Danny Sordo's C2, another Loeb Zara, and then we're into the Loeb C4s. It's interesting that they ditched the clap hand wipers and went for a more conventional wiper layout. Perhaps they were a bit too good at hitting each other. And Seb Ogier, of course, took over from Loeb, but look how much more extreme the cars were becoming by this stage. And then we've got the Formula E cars run under the DS brand. We got a Wankel rotary engine helicopter, because why not? We've got a DS crossback, DS3 crossback, used on Rally Monte Carlo apparently. This is the C Elise that was used. It's a booted C4 effectively, not sold in the UK. But I think even Loeb did a bit of racing in those in the world touring cars. Chris Meek, another driver of the Citroëns. That's a DS3. A little AX GT. And look at this one, it's trying to be really mean. That is stripped out, right hand drive. Citroën Visa, apparently did in 1987 Rally of Portugal. And we've got the second BX4 TC. This is a more extreme rally car, I think the other one's a road car. So a crazy assortment of a Chrysler 2.2 litre engine, turbocharged, 4-wheel drive, an extended snout to get that longitudinal engine in. So yeah, just bizarre. That looks like a GS engine, driving the rear wheels of that little race car. Interesting. This is a Chinese registered AX. Oh yeah, there we go. It's driven all around China. Like rally raid spec Visa. Wonderful. And a GS estate that's been off on its travel. Look at the amazing paintwork. Afghanistan, blimey. And then we got the C Congress, or Citroën Congress rather, these half-track cars that did a lot of exploring of the African deserts. I think this one is a replica of one of those scout cars, complete with the flags. So yeah, went scouting across Africa in their half-track Citroëns. If you want to see one in action, I did actually see one moving at the Citroën Centenary event at La Ferté-Vidame. And then we'll have another look at the 2CV prototypes, because why wouldn't you? Although technically I think these are pre-production cars. They were hidden in a barn at La Ferté-Vidame, so the invading forces could not find them. They had a water-cooled engine, very different exhaust here with a silencer each side, hand start, dinky little carburetor, and yeah, very, very different to the resulting production cars, but lovely that they survive. We've got the Citroën H-Van. This is a fairly early one with a split windscreen, launched in 1947, and then we're into tractions and pre-traction. So the traction came along in 1934, much lower. You can see the height difference. So this is a 1936 Rosalie, very well regarded car, helped establish Citroën as a proper car brand. And look how much lower the traction avant is next to it. The monocoque construction, no separate chassis, allowed it to be much more low slung. Oh, this one's got a 6-cylinder engine. And apparently Citroën was one of the first companies to establish itself with an actual logo. So I'm very proud of that. André Citroën studying his production techniques in America by visiting the likes of Henry Ford. This is the original Type C4, represented here in van and cabriolet form, and saloon. So the C4 name was actually used earlier in Citroën's history. That's a B14G, Type B10, and there's a B2. So B2 effectively the second ever Citroën, I think, after the original Type A. As a Type 2 sort of launderette. Oh, this is lovely. This is a 1922 Citroën B2 Doctors Coupe. For some reason doctors had to have their own little coupes. There's a more sporty version of the B2. The Citroën 5 horsepower was their first little car. Also sometimes known as the Cloverleaf, I think. And more B2s. Look at the colour on this one. It's a B14. That's lovely. Interior is absolutely incredible. Let's see if I can zoom you in. Look at those seats. I must admit, my own knowledge is lacking of these pre-war Citroëns. I probably need to do something about that. It's more Rosalies. And this is a cute little Traction 11B convertible. So this 2CV dates from 1950, so it's pretty close to the original launch specification. One tail light, one reflector, canvas boot lid which rolls up. But here's a fun fact. If you look at any 2CV saloon, it has the catches for this full length boot lid in the bodywork. So even the last ones produced in 1990 still have that little clip. Now this is good to see preserved, because while really it's a Peugeot, the Citroën LN was like the first joint development after the Peugeot takeover in 1975. So it's a Peugeot 104 body shell, the short wheelbase one, but it uses Citroën's 652cc flat twin engine. They later would use Peugeot engines as well. A very practical little car. Initially the Peugeots weren't hatchbacks, but later that became the preferred type. And the Citroën Visa, again, we can just march down here. We've got the Alt-Sit. Well, this might be an Axle, the European market version. I've owned a couple of these, and they are extraordinary cars, but that's what Citroën wanted to make with the Visa, and Peugeot said no, it is too complicated. So what you'll do is you will redevelop this concept on a Peugeot floor pan, and that's very much what they did. So it's like a 104 under the skin. Again, using the 652cc Citroën engine initially, but later using Peugeot engines as well, even the diesels by the 1980s, to make them a formidable super mini and a very spacious and comfortable one. So the Citroën Visa Mille Pistes is a four-wheel drive, four-cylinder tuned version that was developed for one rally, but actually became a limited production car with 1,000 sold. And the Visa GTI, 115 brake horsepower, I think, in the top versions, 105 initially, same engine as the Peugeot 205 effectively. And the convertible as well, one of very few four-door convertibles in the modern-ish era. And ultimately the C15 van, which was in production right up until 2005, I think. For now we're moving into BX territory. It's beautiful 1983 16 RS, looking really, really nice, and that's next to a BX19 Digit. It's a shame we can't get closer. It actually has an electronic dashboard. The BX Sport, there's one of these sat outside as well, with twin carb engine, the original performance version, and then the GTI 4x4 from the 1990s. And then we've got AXs represented as well. But this is the BX4TC that uses Chrysler's engine, and this is the road-going production version. They had to build 200 of these to homologate the racing version. Citroën XM, always going to be a favourite of mine, delicious styling. And we've got a Xantia V6 behind, another XM over here. They look surprisingly small these days. That's an XM Multimedia. What does that get you? Onboard computer, a GSM telephone, integrated TV receiver. Wow. And we've got the Coupe ZX. No, actually it's a coupe, it's just a three door. Let's not get too carried away. And then we're into the Berlingo with the original Coupe de Plage concept, and the Multispace, of course. Yes, bringing back memories that I need to fix mine. They made electric Berlingos as well. This is the Citroën Zane concept, which then led to the Zara Picasso here. And then we've got another C3 Air concept. So this is kind of predicting the Pluriel. There's a Pluriel Charleston next to it, along with a regular production Pluriel. Just taking the back of the BXs for a moment. A quirk of left-hand drive AXs, they have a bent rear wiper rather than a straight one. I don't know why. This is a C3 Hybrid Air. Apparently it looks like a concept. A C4 VTS with its fixed hub steering wheel, and the C5 as well. Next to a C6, a C4 Picasso, and this wonderful old Citroën bus, which has two wipers on the driver's side, nothing at all for the poor passengers. Look at this wall of models, the concept. Oh, I love this. Why didn't they make that a production model? A later van they decided not to build, or maybe it's a predecessor of the eventual C35 van. Wonderful. But yes, we've got the C Crosser. It's an unusual thing, the raised cab, and the C5 C Air Lounge, C Hypnos, the Citroën Osmos. That is a weird thing, trying to predict the future. Cruise Crosser Hybrid with 6 wheels, so based on the C Crosser. C Crosser is the only Citroën made in Japan, as far as I know. It was a joint development with Mitsubishi. Production was meant to come to the Netherlands at the Nedcar factory, but sales were so poor, they didn't bother. Lacoste, oh yeah, a little wiper hinted at there. And C Sport Lounge. They like the lounge theme apparently. C Airplay, I've not seen this one before. That is small and ever so funky. I do like that. The C Cactus, no air bumps, amusingly. The Ami, we obviously like the Ami. Another Cactus concept, with a more production-esque front end on it. starting to hint at the air bumps going on. But this is a Citroën Citella. It has a pair of wheels mounted really close together at the back and was meant to be a sort of economy concept. And does it say when it was designed? 1991. And again, I think it hints at some future Citroën styling trends. So all these concepts have their place. And this is the original concept for the C6 Lineage. Wonderful. And then this is the AMI concept. So a bit more wacky than what they ended up producing. Moving down this line, we've got the C Buggy. That's quite funky. And this is cool. The C10 or Citroën Beetle was a concept that they thought might take over from the 2CV. Again, we've got a narrow angle at the back for supreme aerodynamics, but I believe there were actually some stability issues. It was a running vehicle at one point. Ladybird. Yeah, the brainchild of Andre Lefebvre. Andre Lefebvre is the man behind the Traction Avant, the 2CV, and the DS. So, quite a legend. And look at this cute little thing. The Urban 2. Little lift-up canopy. It's got window catches from a Citroën 2CV and just one headlamp. Cute. And this is the Urban 1. So this is their first attempt, which has a side wiper. Gotta be winning. Right, still a lot to see, folks. Stick with us. So having failed to make the G van, this was the production, the AU and later, as here, AZU. And we've got a 2CV Sahara, the twin engine. Johnny Smith has done a good test drive of one of those. A later AK350 van, a bit longer in the back. The James Bond 2CV. And this is one of the last produced at the Paris factory in 1988, which unfortunately is no more. So Ellie's birthplace no longer exists. Bit of an old sign behind me. Quai de Javel is where the 2CVs were produced. That factory now gone, but there is now Parc André Citroën, with which they commemorate the great man and his massive empire. But that's about it. We're kind of done here, I think. We've had a quick whistle-stop run round everything there is to see, but see it won't be possible for much longer. All this is going away, and we know not when it will reappear. Hopefully one day. We'll keep our fingers crossed for this amazing collection and this amazing model of CX production here at Aulnay-sous-Bois finds a new home. So thank you very much for watching, and don't forget you can head to the Hubnut store if you want to buy lovely merchandise. Incidentally, today's t-shirt is not mine. This is by RJW Creative Design, Russ Wallace, and it's lovely. That is it. We have been given our marching orders. The day is done. For the last time, I'm walking out of the Citroën Conservatoire. Like I say, I've only been here once before in 2005, so 19 years ago, when Aulnay-sous-Bois was still a factory. Yeah, it's been, I mean, this is just Mecca, really, to a Citroën petrol head, and it's been so good to come again. Huge thanks to the Citroën Car Club in the UK for organising this trip, and for the lovely people I've been meeting during a couple of days here in Paris. But yeah, this is it. Gone for good. Where will we next see these cars? We just don't know. But thank you for watching. We'll see you again.